everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I planned on recording both my wrap-up for the month of November as well as my TBR for the month of December. As I have been doing for the last few months, it's been working fine for me, so I wanted to do the same thing. However, after looking at the very ambitious TBR that I've set myself for December and the fact that I've actually read a decent amount of books during the month of November, I decided to split it in two separate videos. So I will still be recording both today. However, you will see one tomorrow, Wednesday, and the other video, which will be my December TBR, will be uploaded on Saturday. So keep a lookout for that video. I have not uploaded a video on Saturday for a little while, so just wanted to remind you to keep your eyes open for that. Now, during the month of November, I was very busy, and that's why I consider what I read to be a decent amount of books, because at the very beginning of December, the 2nd of December, was our baby shower. So I had been extremely occupied with getting everything ready and the decorations, the plays, having everything done, as I tend to be a last minute kind of person. For the last 2 weeks of November, all I was doing was just planning and running errands and going everywhere, meeting with people. It was just kind of hectic and a little bit crazy. So I didn't dedicate pretty much any time whatsoever to reading. I only read mostly for the first half of the month of November. So just keeping that in mind, I did a pretty okay job at that. Now for this video, which is November's wrap up, I won't be organizing it like I used to in the past, where I would tell you kind of like a breakdown of what I read, how many certain star books I had, and so on and so on. I'll just jump in, I'll grab a random book, and I'll start telling you what I thought of it. Hopefully you like that style, but I figure it would be just much easier since I really didn't read that much. Without any further ado now, let's go ahead and get started with the books. The first book I'll talk to you about today is actually a graphic novel. This is the one graphic novel I read during the month of November. It is a non-fiction graphic novel, and I picked this up mainly because I really wanted to read more non-fiction during the month of November, as it was non-fiction November, and I wanted to participate with that. And I thought the easiest way to do so would be to pick up a graphic novel because it's easy to read, fast, and entertaining usually. I was wrong in this case. I was very disappointed with this particular one. This is Houdini, the Handcuff King, and this is by Jason Lutz and Nick Bertozzi, with an introduction by Glenn David Gould. I thought this was going to tell me more about Houdini's life in general, and I thought it was going to be kind of like a biography, but it really wasn't. It was just mainly focused on this one show that he had. And the most enjoyable part of this graphic novel, in my opinion, was the introduction at the beginning, because I thought that that actually told you more of who Houdini was, but it was very brief. It was literally 2 or 3 pages, so it doesn't really go in depth about who he was as a person. It just kind of gave you a brief background on him. And at the very end of the graphic novel, there's also some interesting information based on some of the moments of the story. Like, I don't know how to explain, like he'll explain a method of advertisement during that time, or it'll explain how the locks worked during that time and how he used to prepare himself to be able to get out of all kinds of tricky situations. So that part of the book, the beginning and the ending, was interesting, but the actual graphic novel was a letdown. The art style was not my favorite. Everything was in black and blue and white, which is fine. It's not the color scheme that was the problem. It's just the art style was very basic and not as interesting in my opinion. And the way that he was portrayed in that one event was just as very cocky, very self-assured, very competitive, very much in love with his wife, but that's pretty much all you get. So I wanted more. I wanted more of his life, how he became who he was, and you know, everything about him. Even if it was abbreviated, I still wanted more rather than this one event. So maybe it was just my personal expectations of this that made this such a letdown. But I gave it 2 out of 5 stars because, like I said, the beginning and the ending was kind of interesting. It just wasn't my cup of tea. But I read it this last month. I also read Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory by Caitlin Doughty. Now this is a completely different story. This was a 5-star read for me. I absolutely loved it. I've had a love-hate relationship with nonfiction most of my life. I love the idea of nonfiction, and I love the idea of learning new things or learning from specific people's lives, and I just love the idea of nonfiction. I think it's very important to read nonfiction because that's one of the best ways for you to learn more things and educate yourself and just expand your knowledge, which I find something very, very beautiful in that. However, I've had a hard time finding books that are nonfiction that truly grasp my attention and just motivate me to read more. In the past years since I started YouTube, thanks to all the wonderful videos that YouTubers upload about nonfiction recommendations and such, I have been able to find some amazing books, and this was definitely one of them. I just loved it so much. Pretty much the entire book is Caitlin telling you about her experiences in this field and telling you about her personal opinion and beliefs when it comes to the way that, or the ways in which we can dispose of our bodies after we die. And I just loved mainly her writing style, although her stories were absolutely hilarious. Even though the topic itself is really morbid, her way of telling it just made it so fun to read and so engaging. It felt as if I was just having a normal conversation with a dear friend who was telling me all about her day at work and all the crazy things that she experienced in her work field, and I just enjoyed that so very much. I read this book, I think, in 2 days, and I wanted much more. I'll definitely be rereading it in the future. I also enjoy seeing her perspective and hearing what she thinks of the different ways that we can dispose of our bodies, and what she thinks of how our society nowadays kind of completely ignores the topic of death and kind of avoids it, how we've lost in our culture, in our modern culture, how we've lost our rituals or our more belief-based ways of getting rid of our bodies. So I don't know if I'm making any sense, but pretty much it was a fantastic read. I will be doing a book review of this book in the near future, so keep a lookout for that if that's something you might be interested in. I'll just get my thoughts put together better and I'll explain it much better. But I loved this book. I highly recommend it. Of course, since it does surround the topic of death, it is pretty morbid, so if that kind of thing is something that you're sensitive about, or the medical ways in which you dispose of a body after someone has died bothers you, then this might not be the right read for you. But I personally really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to read more from her. I think she has, I don't know, I think she has 1 or 2 more books, which I really want to pick up and read because I need more. She was hilarious. I loved the way she wrote about her passions, her job, and how she ended up there. It was just fantastic. Moving on, another book that I really enjoyed reading was Beautiful Babies, Nutrition for Fertility, Pregnancy, Breastfeeding, and Babies' First Foods, and this is by Kristen Michaelis. This was another very enjoyable read. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I just found it to be very informative. And again, the way that it was written was just very engaging. It didn't feel like an article, it didn't feel like an informative book. It felt just like a conversation with somebody that's knowledgeable and passionate about nutrition. And I think that anybody can read this book and enjoy it. You don't necessarily have to be expecting or hoping to become pregnant or breastfeeding or anything like that. I think anyone can benefit from reading this book. I enjoyed all the facts that she shares with you and how she shares them with you. You can tell that she really researched these topics for a long time, and it's something that she's been passionate for many years. So you can tell that. The only thing I would say about this book that could at times get a little bit repetitive was just how pushy she was on her own personal beliefs of what is the best way to go when it comes to your nutrition. I feel that in many ways she kind of just disregards some of the things that, for example, your doctor might recommend you to do or to eat or to look out for or to avoid during your pregnancy, as well as some things that nutritionists might tell you. So that's the only thing that I feel that she might have been able to approach a little bit differently, so that it doesn't come as strong when it comes to her own personal opinion, and a little bit more based on actual facts. However, I did enjoy the read. I also want to do a book review because I do have a lot of thoughts in regards to this book and to the things that she tells you in this book. So I have to put everything together again in my mind so that I can better discuss it with you. But I definitely want to do a book review in the near future of this, because there's so much interesting topics inside this book, and I really want to discuss it further. But very enjoyable read, even if I didn't agree with everything she said. And I do highly recommend it, like I said, to anyone. You don't have to be expecting a baby in order to enjoy it. Another book I read during the month of November, well, part of the book, is I finally finished reading 4 Past Midnight by Stephen King. And I read the last story in this book, which was a very enjoyable. And it was, I think, let me see how many pages. It was from page 737 to page 936. So it was a good 200 and something pages, which was great. It was called The Sun Dog, and it was very enjoyable. I do have a book review for this entire book where I talk a little bit about each of the stories, which are 4 in total, and I will link that somewhere in this video for you to watch if you want to know more of my thoughts on this particular book. But overall, I really did enjoy it. I gave the book as a whole 4 stars because one of the stories was not necessarily my favorite. However, the other 3 were just absolutely fantastic in my opinion. So very glad to have finally finished this. This is a big book and it's taken me a little while to finish it. Now, I also continue reading my It book by Stephen King. However, I am completely failing in finishing this book by any of the timelines that I've been giving myself. I keep saying I'll finish it this month, I'll finish it that month, I'll finish it in this many weeks. I just keep failing. But not because I'm not enjoying it. I am honestly loving this book so far. I have gotten to page 482. So I am almost halfway through the book. And I'm really loving this book. I have to say, so far, I think this is one of my favorite Stephen King reads, just because in this particular book, he has managed to keep you engaged, and he has managed to throw in, at the right times, just enough suspense and thrill as well as the amazing character development and, you know, character background that he has included in this book. I love that so very much. I am so engaged with all of these characters, and I just love hearing about their stories and their lives and their family members. It's just wonderfully written. I'm really loving it. But I don't know if it is his writing necessarily or if it's me, but it's one of those books that I just really want to read and take my time reading it. Like, I don't want to rush through it, so I'll read it slowly, and however long it takes me to finish this, I'm okay with it. I will finish it eventually, but I'm no longer gonna set goals for it. I'm just gonna keep on reading it like I have, and I'll finish it when I finish it. But I am definitely enjoying it. I read a lot of that book during the month of November, because when I started the month, I think I was only at a little bit under 200 pages, and I made it to almost 500 pages, so I'm very satisfied with what I managed to read on that book. So those are the books that I have read during the month of November. I hope that I slowly start reading a little bit more, but I'm not gonna put a lot of pressure on myself because of that. I like to read for my personal enjoyment. It's like a hobby to me, and I feel that sometimes I lose that idea and I start getting a little bit too stressed out about how much I've read rather than just enjoying the quality of the books that I'm reading. So I'm just gonna enjoy the process of reading. I do have, however, a very large TBR for December, but that's okay. I'll view it just as recommendations of things that I want to pick up during the month, and whatever I finish, I finish. Whatever I don't, I don't. I'm just gonna enjoy my reading experience. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry I've been so chatty throughout the video, and I will see you again soon on Saturday with my TBR for December. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week and an amazing weekend, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!